This is the Phoenix mind, where the fire refines, break the chains and rise to shine. Rise stronger, lead with heart, every end a brand new start. With Lisa Manzo, we transform, we ignite. This is the Phoenix mind.
Hi, I'm Lisa Manzo, host of the Phoenix Mind podcast, and today my special guest is Bill Pautler, and I'm going to read you his bio. Bill is a spiritual author, entrepreneur, and he lives in Alabama, and I'm going to let you tell him tell you more about himself right now. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate it. Probably not a lot to know. Grew up in Southern Illinois, moved to Mobile to go to college. Live in Birmingham, Alabama now. I've been a hot air balloon pilot. I've scuba dive. I ride motorcycles occasionally. I bicycle a lot. I've got 6 children. I currently live by myself. And have always been interested in spirituality since the time I was young. And that's what I do nowadays is I write a weekly story, and I've got another book. I've got another book coming out in about 3 months, and then I got another book coming out after that mid next year. And I've got a YouTube channel, and I'm trying to get people to understand that spirituality is very practical and they can have it in their lives and it can bring them joy and peace.
That's beautiful. So, how did you get started on that journey? I know you said that it started in childhood. Was there a specific event or anything that happened?
Not in childhood. I grew up Catholic and would just be in the church and I'd be praying and I just wanted to know if God was real. I used to ask the statues to blink at me or do anything, so I knew God was real. Then in August 8th, 1988, I had my first spiritual experience where I got the gift of tears. And then I've had, probably 6 or 8 other fairly significant spiritual experiences. I would like to say that, some people like, oh, she could have a spiritual experience, or what can I do to have a spiritual experience? And spiritual experiences aren't like that. They just come to you, and even when they happen to you, you usually don't really know why. And then maybe 5 years or 10 years or 20 years later, you look back and you see how that spiritual experience changed you, but gave you a new perspective. And sometimes they're given to you so you can hold on. So you can hold on to some of the difficulties in the spiritual journey.
So, what's the gift of tears? I've never heard that before. So, I want to know. I'm very interested.
Um, the short story is I was at a Bible study in my neighborhood in Alabama. My neighbors were fairly fundamentalist and I was Catholic, and they were taunting me that I should ask Jesus to come into my life. And I'm like, whatever. I'm like, I love Jesus. I've loved Jesus long before y'all even thought about Jesus. And, but I went on a bike ride that night and I'm like, Jesus, if you want to come into my heart, just come on into my heart, whatever. Almost joking. And when I got home, I started crying. And I cried solid for 2 days. And, I tear up, constantly when anything that touches me at a deep level, I tear up. My kids won't let me pray at dinner because I always cry. And I didn't know it was a gift of tears. I had no idea what it was. Later on, one of my spiritual mentors told me or labeled it as the gift of tears.
That's so interesting. And it's kind of a little funny that the kids won't let you do the blessing because you'll start crying.
Yeah. It's a joke in my family.
I feel like So as a child, I wasn't allowed to cry. I
Mhm.
was told that my tears were wrong. I shouldn't feel that way. I wasn't allowed to cry, so I started stuffing everything in and down. Okay. So now, if you watch my podcast, there'll be times where I do tear up. And I always tell my audience that this is perfectly fine and normal. It's a release, and I get to experience that right at this moment. And it is a gift. I believe it's such a great gift to be able to actually be able to let go and cry because so many of us don't know how to do that. And I was given that gift through my healing that it's okay to cry, and I bring it to others. So I'm so glad that that's part of your story. That's so interesting to me.
Yeah, well, that's beautiful. I'm glad that you found your tears, and I wish more people would. And I would specifically wish that more males would.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. The only time I dated this guy for about 12 or 14 years, and the only time I ever saw him cry was when his dad died
Yeah,
in 14 years.
yeah,
And I know that men were told they had to be strong and no crying and no this, and I just feel like a strong man can cry because it's part of life and it's showing emotion. If you don't cry, you're stuffing everything down. Do you feel the same way?
yeah, very much so. Very much so.
In the past, did you feel yourself stuffing things down, or do you think that you before you got the gift of tears?
I've always been a people pleaser. Really worked on that a lot in the last couple of years. A lot in the last year. So yes, I've definitely been keep everybody happy, stuff my own personal emotions down, you know, not always being my authentic self, conforming to the world per se or to the situation. And I'm very good at all those things. Uh, but but now I've had to really come to grips with that and realize that even keeping people happy is not healthy.
No, I completely agree. Do people please with your children as well?
Uh, I used to, not so much anymore. I love all my children. Jesus says, until you learn to hate your brother and your mother and your father and your sister, your children, you really can't come into the kingdom of God. And there's multiple layers to the understanding of that. But whenever we appease people, it's not healthy for them and it's not healthy for us. The truth is what is healthy. And so I look at all my relationships and I understand that there is a father-child relationship and a mother-child relationship, obviously. Um, and then my kids have their own relationships with each other, right? But ultimately, uh, some of the some of the family norms that we pick up growing up are not necessarily healthy. But so I try to look at one that we're all eternal beings, okay? Uh, and that if I am disciplining my child or telling my child the truth, uh, then and I've been through two divorces, so and I've raised children by myself for many years. Um, what was I going to say there? Oh, just that if you look at your relationships with people, especially with your children, from an eternal perspective, that it's okay for them not to talk to you, to disagree with you, I've been kicked out of my different children. I've had a lot, my, each, not each one of my children, but probably half my children have kicked me out of their lives for multiple years at a time. Um, which, people don't understand, and people like, doesn't that kill you? Yeah, it's very hard, but they they did it because that was the right thing for them at that time. And everybody's always doing the best they can from their perspective at any given point in time. I'm a big believer in that also. Not that everybody's doing healthy things, but from their current perspective. So, all that said, I know that over eternity, that me doing what I believe is right, and I know that I don't always know what is right, but trying to act with love, even when love is difficult, um, with all my children and with all my relationships, that is the most healthy thing for me and the most healthy thing for all of us.
How do you overcome that when your children kick you out of their lives for a few months or years? And how do you get past that to get back in? How does that door open?
Uh, Mostly I pray for them
Mm-hmm.
because prayer is very powerful, and I'll extend little offers. And when people are ready to, pick up their sword, then they can pick up their sword. But we are not in control of, we think we're in control of a lot of stuff. We're really almost not in control of everything, including our own actions. So, but that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
But I like what you said that you reach out to them, and just, I guess it's just letting them know that the door is still open on your end when they're ready to walk back through it.
Right, exactly. I'm thinking of all my relationships, thinking about everything that I start, uh, even like the minute, I don't really like to call it a ministry, but I'll call it a ministry for right this second. My ministry of trying to get people to love themselves and awake to their powerful spirits that are within them. Um, I look at all of that as planting seeds. Each one of my children are a seed, and every seed needs, because all different plants are different, right? Some are directly out in the sun, some need to be in the shade, some need a lot of water, some need just a little bit of water, some need to be fertilized, some need to be next to the river, whatever it is, okay? Um, what what I'm always trying to create in everything that I create is a safe space, a healthy space, an open space where all the available nutrients and ingredients are there, almost like a perfect recipe, are there to promote the growth of whoever I'm engaged with or whatever I'm creating.
So, how is emotional intelligence or self-awareness shape your journey along the way?
I'll just tell you that I just gave you a ton of emotional intelligence. Um, well, a quick story. Okay. Uh, I woke up, I just told this story the other day on a podcast. So I kind of thought about it. But this has been 20 years ago or something. I'd have to think about it. But this is at least 20 years ago, maybe 25. But I woke up one spring morning and I didn't have any emotions. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel peace. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel love. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel anything. That lasted for 3 months. And that was one of my spiritual mystical experiences. And it was in that 3 months that I realized that emotions are gifts from God that allow us to obviously to feel, to interact all those type of things. And so I also realized, maybe not right coming out of that, but later on, that we are supposed to be masters because the Spirit of God lives in us. Okay. That's my personal belief. Everybody believe whatever they want to believe. It's my personal belief. And the word animate comes from the word anime, which is where the word soul comes from. Um, so we're animated by the Spirit of God. And therefore, and this is, I'm not, there's some really good, beautiful things about religion, but there's nothing in here in my spirituality that is about one single religion. Okay. Religion is man's way to point us to God, but religion has a lot of fallibility built into it too, because it's built by man, right? Um, where was I going? What was the question? I don't even remember.
We were asking about how emotional intelligence and self-awareness shaped you on your journey.
Oh, so I realized after I'd lost my emotions, and then I realized also that the Spirit of God dwells in us, that all the attributes of God are available to us because it's God that dwells in us, right? And so one of our jobs here on this planet in this lifetime is to become masters of our own divinity. And to become a master, you become a disciple because a disciple is disciplined, right? It's the same word, it's disciple discipline. Uh, and so I've worked very hard on mastering my emotions, my reactions, my thought processes, and try to stay tuned in and aligned with my higher calling and my higher, I don't know, my soul, the Holy Spirit, divine consciousness. Kind of, there's a lot of little pieces there, however you want to look at that. Um, and in doing all that, that has helped me, I guess, bring about a balance in my emotions. And then any, if you want to learn something, the only reason you're going to learn something is because you become aware of something that's not working. Awareness is the beginning to change. Awareness is the beginning of change. So, all that said, um, as I've balanced all this stuff and watched myself, and I've just learned how to be emotionally intelligent, emotionally aware.
So wait,
And I'm not perfect, okay? Don't get me wrong there. I'm as fallible as the next person.
so when you're going through a rough time, because you wrote to me and you said that you were sleeping on the floor for 3 months when you didn't have a home. How do you keep your faith and your spirituality?
Um, at that point in time, I have no idea how I was doing it. Uh,
Is it wait,
uh,
that's the one where that's the story where like with the footprints, right? When I only
yeah,
see one set of footprints and that's because God was carrying you. Can you say
yes, that's exactly right. Now I would tell you that reframing how we think about this life journey is a huge help to me because I believe that we leave the God consciousness, and our souls are a big container of all our multiple lives, but we leave our soul per se, and the spirit of our soul, the Holy Spirit, God's Spirit, comes into this body. We have amnesia, obviously, okay, and and once we understand that this is an adventure, and it's just like traveling. Anytime you travel, you go someplace to learn something, to have a new experience, to meet new people, to taste new foods, to see new history and buildings and uh, landscapes and whatever, have all these new experiences. Well, but when you travel, you don't have the comforts of home. You don't have your bed, you don't have the things, your clothes. All you carry is this little bag with you. And so that's very much like the adventure of coming to Earth. Okay. It's kind of like traveling. And, if we live 100 years or however long we live, it's really not that long. And if we are trying to become masters of our divinity, and we know when we're on an adventure that good and bad things are going to happen, that's just part of the creative process. And if there wasn't, if you're going to make a piece of metal shine, you start with coarse grit and then you put big scratches in it. And then you take medium grit and put more scratches in it, finer scratches. And then you take fine grit and then you take polish. And when you get done, then you've got a mirror. Okay. And that's what we're going through in this earthly process is we have big scratches and then we get medium scratches but that is the process of refining ourselves and our spirit in this world.
And that's very interesting. I like the analogy.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know what to ask you next. Let me think about it.
Take your time. I'm here.
So you also said that you began noticing that your thoughts and emotions were shaping that your reality, and listening in with prayer and reflection help you release fear and live more from truth. Let's talk about releasing fear. People have a lot of fear. Let's talk about that. How are you able to release fear through prayer and reflection?
Um, wow, that's kind of a hard question. Uh, I think one of the things that you've got to do just to start off with is you have to look at, and a lot of my stuff, I go back to awareness. Do you mind if I hold my book up?
Go right ahead.
Awakening to Ourselves, the Practical Art of Building a Spiritually Aware Life. Notice that word aware, okay? Um, Everything starts with an awareness. So if you want to heal anything in your body, whether it's fear, whatever it is, anytime you're in pain, mental, emotional type of pain, as soon as you have that pain, that fear, whatever it is, you've got to stop right that second and go, why am I fearful? Why am I upset that Sally didn't text me back right away or whatever it is? Okay. Why am I angry that that guy pulled his car in front of me? Why am I angry that they didn't hold the elevator? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay. So you stop. Let's just pretend it's a fear. Okay. You stop and you look at that fear and go, what in me brings about that fear? And if you dig down, not first layer, not second layer, like third, fourth, fifth layer, and go, oh, I'm fearful because I remember when I wasn't provided for. Okay. Maybe it's a child. And then you go, then with awareness, you go, is that a real thing? And it never is. Okay. It's an experience you had. Okay. That you're holding on to. And that is the lens that you're looking at the world through. Okay. So if you want to get rid of your fears, you want to get rid of your pain, You have to look at each one of them. You can just do this while you're walking down the sidewalk, while you're driving in your car. Very practical stuff. And then with awareness, you just look at it. And if you look at something with awareness long enough, it will dissolve on its own.
Oh, I like that. That's great advice. So, two more questions for you, Bill. The
Okay.
first question is, when somebody wants to get in touch with you and learn more from you, how do they do that?
You can go to my website, which is Sage, SAGE, Life, LIFE, Sage Life with Bill. And you could go to my YouTube page, Sage Life with Bill. And if you go to my webpage, sagelifewithbill.com, you can sign up for my weekly story, which is free. And I spend anywhere between 4 to 8 hours on my weekly story every week. And it's about 1,000 words. And if you want to know what I'm thinking, it's in there.
Awesome. And one bit of advice when somebody's struggling up with something or how to keep going. What do you have for them?
Remember, this is an adventure. Remember that the Spirit of God animates you, and therefore the Spirit of God lives in you, okay? And that everything that comes to you, there's a lesson and a beauty wrapped up there. And some of them are very, very painful. But if you stay focused on the spiritual journey, is a walk of subtraction. It's a walk of subtracting all the false beliefs that we live with, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It can take years and years and years. But if you start looking at everything that you think with awareness and asking yourself, is that true? Where did I get that? And then if it's not true, then you look at it with awareness and release it. Then you will start to be more in tune with your inner self. Your inner self will stay aligned with your soul. And then you can walk the world with all the peace and joy in your heart all the time.
Awesome. Well, Bill, thanks for being my guest today on the Phoenix Mind podcast.
And thank you, Lisa. And I like to end my any of my podcast with the word namaste, which is a Sanskrit word, and it literally means the divine in me honors the divine in you. So I would say the divine in me honors the divine in you, Lisa, and to all our listeners, may I honor their divinity also.
All right. Well, namaste. I'm Lisa Manzo, and this has been another episode of the Phoenix Mind podcast. And I'll see you on the next episode.
This is the Phoenix Mind, where the fire finds. Together we rise, transform our lives. So subscribe, share the flame.